So this is really how the science sees you. Yeah, well, really what they see, yeah, pretty much. And really what it's all about is you being a product. Yes, they very much want to make you a product. What people miss about the Holocaust days, okay, is it just seems like crazy people that went on a killing spree. Yeah, no. Much of the reason that they killed off the feeble-minded, the elderly, the disabled, is because what the socialist laborist parties want is workers. They want workhorses. Yeah, and the disabled and the elderly and the feeble-minded, they won't be the good horses they need. So that's why eugenics always wants to get rid of them, because it's always about having their workers. However, now we've reached this place where, well, the science is doing this kind of stuff. Yeah, this was 2018. 4 ways we can now create genetically modified humans and whether we should. Well, the very fact that you would even say whether we should shows that this is somebody that doesn't have common sense. No, we should not. Okay? But look at what has happened over time because of the science. The age of genetically modified humans is here. From designer babies to human mutants. Here, this is all true too. I'll show you in a minute. From designer babies to human mutants, here are some of the most unbelievable things we can't see all of it, and some of even more unnerving things we'll soon be able to do. Well, if they're already talking about it, I guarantee you it means they've already done it. There's no boundaries to the science. What is DNA and how do we manipulate it? Well, it started a long time ago. Most people remember this one on the news. It was really the first hearing of the cloning of a mammal, Dolly the sheep, yes, 1996. Yeah, this is when people started speaking up and saying, no, the science is going too far. Is it bringing the Tower of Babel into view? You know, when God says in the Bible, there's no limit to what they'll do and they're foolish enough to do it. This is 2000, genetically identical pigs. 2003, this mule was born in Idaho named Gem. Gem was the first hybrid animal to be cloned. This one was really unnerving to me. Snuppy, born in 2005, was the first of many cloned dogs in South Korea. Many cloned dogs. Many cloned dogs. So you may think, oh, this is all great. Yeah, if you are, then you're likely the higher educated. No, here's where it's a problem. This is the problem. This was 2017, 2018 maybe, or 20, I can't remember. It was in the last several years. A patent on, but this has been going on since the 80s. Going back and forth, the science going to the Supreme Court, ACLU saying no, you're going too far. Even doctors and saying you're going beyond where you should. A patent on your DNA, what the Supreme Court ruling means for you. I can't tell you what the ruling was, because there's an ongoing with the Supreme Court in this. And not just that, the science still does whatever they want. They just find ways around it. So here's the danger, okay? It's one thing for you to get, say you have to get metal put in because of, ligaments, or you have some sort of break that you need to have metal parts put in you. Okay, so that doesn't make you automatically a patent. But they're talking about the DNA structure, which is God, we were made in the image of God. So, the reason science can't take the medicine from the environment is because they didn't create it. Your medicine is synthetically created. They find it in the environment, they create it in their lab, and then they give it to you, okay? So, and just like antibiotics was found on accident when they were playing with their things in a culture that was considered a bad culture that got in, and they realized it would kill things. So that's how you really... Just a summed up version of how we came to know penicillin, okay? So, but much of what is found is in nature, okay? And so the reason the science doesn't get to own it is because they didn't create it. That should tell you, because there's a creator. So then they just replicate it. So their whole goal all along has been they want to own humans. I mean, it shows in history, back during Hitler's days, they were crazy and they just want workers. But now we're into a whole different territory, because when you start splicing and dicing DNA, then that's the heart of you being made in the image of God. So once you start taking a gene out, because the science comes along and says, well, we know that in the future you're going to have breast cancer, but we'll just take this splice of gene out and we'll put the one that's going to repair it in, then the argument comes is that if they patent it, then that you're a patent. See why the science has already gone too far, and they don't care. They don't care. It makes me tearful in a way, because it's such very, misguided people. And look at all the problems we have right now. I'm not even going to bring up the problems, like with, all this changing stuff. I've said before, there's something happening. These are bunnies, that they injected with fluorescent, so that under a black light. It's interesting, just, in the cities, you have those black lights in certain places. I don't know, it doesn't mean anything. Anyway, researchers used the fluorescent protein as a marker in the experiment so they could observe how the injected genetic material might affect rabbits, dogs, cats, pigs, mice, and more. It's just... they can even knock some genes out, An inactivated gene created using recombinant, which is our DNA technology, ES cells isolated from a mouse. Inactivated gene is incorporated into DNA in ES cells. And then you see the mouse in the middle. I'm just following it down. Engineered ES cells are injected into the blastocyst embryo taken from a female mouse. Blastocyst containing ES cells is implanted into the pseudo-pregnant female. The female will give birth to a litter of offspring, and you can see it's composed of what they want. This is why they're saying you can pick your child's eye color, you can decide you want to have twins. It's all supposed to pull you into this is great. Except that when they start playing around with your DNA, are you really, and maybe you don't care if you are created in the image of God, but you sort of should, because I don't think that there's enough of positive outcomes with the science to trust them splicing and dicing genes. We have the ability to edit the genome and thus create new types of organisms not seen in the natural world. When the DNA of one organism is added to the genome of another, a genetically modified organism is created. The added gene or transgene, I'm not going to read all it. You can look this up. And here, for people that don't believe me, National Institute of Medicine, patenting humans, clones, chimeras, and biological artifacts. This is 2017, I believe. I could be wrong, but what are gene patents and why are people worried about them? Well, because if the gene is down to what you're created in the image of God, you become someone else's property. You become someone else's intellectual property. The advancements in genetic technology over the past decade have led to the creation of a new topic of study called genomics. Unlike genetics, which focuses on an individual genes and traits, genomics looks at the function and structure of genome as a whole. Of course they would. And then it says, and finally, ethics. Like, that's what I mean. Ethics doesn't come into play for these people till after they've already done it. I'll have to do a follow-up to this. I have some other pictures to show.